Hey, it's Jenebaspeaks from Twitter, and today's after message comes compliments of the Affordable Care Act, or the Obamacare, and in particularly the inability for Democrats to stand by their position or stand by their man through the end, and how quickly they fold. And here's a case in point. So yesterday I was watching Speaker of the House John Boehner's daily press briefing, and during the press briefing, there's been several hearings over the past few days with the architects of the federal website that has to accommodate the needs and sign up all citizens of the 36 states that decided that they were not going to create their own exchange, including some that decided they're not going to expand Medicaid per the law, as they can do. And during Speaker Boehner's remarks, he essentially is addressing the press, but then also the American people. And he says, there's really no way to fix this website. We just need to overhaul the entire act. And so I'm thinking to myself, and some reporter asked, how do you react or respond to the fact that Democrats essentially say that the Republicans have done nothing, and haven't created anything since they've been in the majority for the most part? And, he gave a bunch of fluff. And then, someone else asked, so if you overhaul the act, what's going to be in its place? And he says, well, go to, GOP.gov, and you'll find 9 principles there that, the Republicans have always put forward, promulgated, that will easily replace and solve the system for the best healthcare system in the world, the United States. So first of all, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, we have 48 million people who do not have insurance, who are walking around coughing and sneezing and potentially having all sorts of deadly diseases and have no idea and may die early, yet this is the best health system in the world? I don't think so. So I had problems with that message. So then I go to the GOP.gov website and I can't find it. I put in a couple of search tools, and if this is your, benchmark, point that you're going to fight Obamacare to the end because it's crippling businesses, it's stifling jobs, it's causing all sorts of problems, why is it when I go to GOP.gov, that's not the first thing I see is like, here's our alternative? If there's a bunch of other messages and things I'm searching around, there's not even a tab that sells healthcare or says overhaul Obamacare or our answer, GOP answer to Obamacare. There's nothing that exists like that. So I put in search and I get a bunch of results, but they're like references to various different bills that different congresswomen and congressmen have passed or promulgated or in different stages of passing. And I'm thinking, this is not helpful. And on Twitter, I said, dear GOP, Speaker Boehner says your answers and 9 principles that I can find on your website. Can you help me find it? Crickets. I can hear those crickets. Still wait for them to reply. So in a nutshell, it's like, that's a lie. The second thing he says is, actually that's the second line, because the first one's like the American healthcare system is the best in the world, which is not true when you have 48 million people running around. And the second one is like, the GOP website does not have your 9 principles laid out there clearly. That's an answer. And then the final thing that was frustrating me is that he said that there are millions of Americans that are losing their insurance. And so I'm like, really? There are millions of Americans? And I put that out there on Twitter, and one of my friends, Legal Speaks, responds back. And she said, yes, there's 319 million Americans, and 5%, and I said 5% of the people who are losing their insurance, because 5% of Americans buy their health insurance through the private exchange or the private marketplace. So it's not 100% of Americans that are losing insurance. It's 5% of those people, 5% of Americans, those who buy their health insurance. So she says, yeah, 14 million. That's millions. So I'm like, okay. So you're saying that every single person who buys health insurance has the bottom basic, they're underinsured, because what Affordable Health Care Act requires, as I understand it, is it requires certain preventative care, and it also requires hospitalization, and it requires routine screenings. And so I'm trying to say, so I'm thinking like, so you mean these wealthy people who work for themselves, who don't have employer-based care, who just either buy health care on their own, are all underinsured and have bottom basement basic, plain level quality care? And find that hard to believe. All I've seen so far is anecdotes. They'll find like a shopkeeper or a person here or there that they try to say, here's an example. But those examples don't equal millions. And so my friend gives me back 3, healthcare providers who have not readjusted their underwriting based on Affordable Health Care Act per their 2013 insurance policies. And so I understand that, but that's still 3. And of those 3, they are making adjustments for employer-based health care. My husband has employer-based health care. I've had employer-based health care before. So I've read policies and looked at all the different copays and deductibles. And I understand insurance. And from what I understand, he isn't getting dropped, and most employers are not getting dropped. People fail to realize that the insurance industry essentially is a racket, because a lot of people pay a lot of money into it, and for the most part do not use all the benefits compared to what they pay into it. Employer-based they're getting millions of dollars every year. Their profits are really, really high. So essentially they're dropping people because they don't want to cut into their profit margin. Because by saying you're paying me $200 a month, and for $200 a month you're getting these basic cares, for me to now provide you these extra little things, that's going to eat into my profit, and I don't want to eat into my profit. So instead I'm just going to just drop you. So they're being dropped because of insurance industry's greed. I don't understand why that's not the Democratic talking point. Instead, they're hopping on whatever the Republicans are saying and say, yeah, all these millions of people are getting dropped. And they're getting dropped because of Obamacare. It's like, no, they're getting dropped because insurance companies don't want to offer services which they really could afford to and adjust if they want to, but they just don't want to. It really is in a nutshell. And then with the 14 million, the Health and Human Services delivered some numbers. The Obamacare administration delivered some numbers. I poured over some of them. And then the CNN, did a nice job of encapsulating all of them in a nice little bite-sized chunk sort of analysis. And it was there's 319 million Americans. And it said that of 136 million, for example, get the insurance through employer-based insurance care. So they have health care. So they're not getting dropped. Then there's another 95. And that 95 million that get government insurance. Of that 95 million, they said something like, 45 gets it from Medicare. And there's another 44 or something like that gets their health care from Medicaid. And then there's 55 to 59 that are not insured at all. That number equals 319. So where are these 5%? Where are these 14 million? The numbers just don't add up. And I just don't know where the hole is. But the fact of the matter is that it just baffles me that people, the progressives and Democrats, they're supposed to be behind their president or behind this law or supporting it, are so quick to just eat whatever the Republicans tell them and then just, and then go with it. And I saw on Facebook the other day, someone was like, I don't understand why people are saying Obama lied to us. He only lied. If he did lie and say you can keep your policy and people are losing their policies, that's just a fraction of the 5% of the people that get their policy. You, sir, who's complaining, say, no, he lied to 100% of us. It's like, you don't even have insurance. How can you lose something you don't have? And you, ma'am, who have insurance, have always had insurance through your job or your husband's job, you're not losing insurance. So how's that a lie to you? You, ma'am, who are elderly and getting Medicare and have insurance, you still have your insurance. You haven't been dropped. See? So, that's the point. It's kind of like, it's a talking point that it's really addressing a minuscule people, but yet everyone's just hopped on it and then just gone with it. And they're just gone. It's just kind of like, you have no principles and no sort of chupsa. That's why I admire Republicans. Republicans, they have their talking points. They stick to it, no matter if it's wrong, whether if it's conflicting, no matter if it's distorted, no matter if there's, something else that says, no, it's not true. They're riding those points till the end, ride or die, to the end. And they're sticking on it. And they're just, and that's why they'll beat the Democrats all the time in the world of the war of public opinion or the war of words, because they just, their folks are just down with them to the end, and Democrats aren't. They just hop off ship like that. Anyway, that's not my thing. Crunch the numbers. If it doesn't add up, don't just jump on it and hop on it and just repeat it, regurgitate, and defend it as if it's true. Question and challenge. That's my point. That's my Jenebaspeaks after message today. That's it. It was long, 9 minutes. I have to do better.